This is Geek Gab with your host, Dornall, and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Monday, the 26th of August, right? August 2024. We're here tonight with our good friend Brian, who is starting a new crowdfunding effort. I believe it's on Kickstarter, but don't hold me to that. I've had some discussion recently about the virtues of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and BackerKit. So I can't remember which one was coming up tonight. But also, we want to talk real quick about some cyberpunk movie titles you might want to check out. And I went and watched what is gaining a reputation of the worst movie of the year, The Crow remake. Although I really don't know that you can actually call it a remake of The Crow. As someone pointed out online on Twitter, I'd love to take credit for this joke, but I didn't. They pointed out that Ghost with Patrick Swayze was more true to the spirit of the original Crow than the new remake. So take that for what it's worth. So yeah, that's high praise, folks. You know, because basically Ghost really is The Crow. The original The Crow and Ghost have the same exact plot, pretty much.
Oh my
You've got a
goodness, you're
couple.
right.
You know, you got a couple that's in love, and some evil businessman does evil things, and the guy gets killed and comes back as a ghost. You know, details are different, but you know, they're kind of similar, and he has to get his revenge. Um, so, and they both even have African American friends and allies. Ghost has Guinan from Star
Whoopi
Trek,
Goldberg.
Pete Goldberg, and the Crow has Winston from Ghostbusters in it. So really appropriate for the discussion. So anyways, do you want to start off with the cyberpunk movies real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore you guys with just a list, but I'd love to get your input. I'm doing a dive into cyberpunk movies, rewatching some of my favorites and catching some new ones. I'm itching to get back into the genre, get back into the game. Um, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but I'm planning to do a one-shot cyberpunk uh, battle Bronstein, or if you will, like a diplomacy or a LARP or whatever. We're gonna get together and we're gonna throw a bunch of people in Night City and give them some factions to run around with and see what comes out of it. Um, so I'm gearing up for that by loading up on cyberpunk fiction. I have already exposed my lovely and sensitive wife to the best. We've already watched RoboCop. Um, and she caught it for the first time. It was a little too 80s for her taste, but she enjoyed it. Um, it's especially fun to watch after all these years. And the first thing she says is that Red Foreman?
I don't understand those words though. A little 280s. Those words don't make any sense put together in that order. I don't think that's a valid sentence in English.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to take it up with her. It does. It's got the corporate shoulder pad aesthetic and everything. There's a lot to it that so this was filmed in the 80s, but the satire is brutal. And the made up commercials and TV shows that are sort of part of the world. Absolutely hilarious. So yeah, Bradford Walker says Blade Runner is where everyone starts. Yeah, I mean, it is. They're wrong. RoboCop is the number one best cyberpunk movie ever made. Blade Runner's amazing. That's on my list. I might put myself through Johnny Mnemonic. I gotta go back and watch Dread. Another one that missed my first pass was The Running Man. That is It's got, I think, more Arnold one-liners per minute than the rest of that era of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Um, and to fit the theme of warring gangs in the dark future, uh, I've got on my list The Warriors and Streets
Ooh.
of Fire. I've never
Ooh.
seen The Warriors.
See, on the reverse, I've seen The Warriors. I've never seen Streets on Fire.
It was
Oh, you
brought to my
should.
attention
Yeah.
on Twitter by Kest, and I don't
Mhm.
have his tweet in
It's
front
on
of
my
me, so I
list.
can't share it. It's like a bizarre, uh, dark futuristic, a dark futuristic gang warfare, but it's a musical. It looks like just from it's like Willem Dafoe plays the creepy gang leader. I suppose that's redundant. Willem Dafoe plays the gang leader, um, and but it looks like it's a musical. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from it.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So I think you have a laudable goal. One potential slight critique is everything on the list seems rather kind of second order or maybe second generation cyberpunk, like more of a like pop culture vision of what everyone thinks cyberpunk is. So more of like the trappings. Not
uh-huh,
that they're bad
uh-huh.
movies, but I have a couple recommendations that sounds like you missed or maybe not have not even heard of.
Hit me.
Which, okay, so this first we have to define what a cyberpunk is. According to Saint Bill, William Gibson himself, a cyberpunk is a man without choices. So it is a direct offshoot of noir. So the first thing I'd say is go back and watch some good film noir like Force of Evil, Touch of Evil, Double Indemnity, Maltese Falcon. Check out the original noirs, right? But then New Rose Hotel. Since you mentioned Willem Dafoe, you ever heard of that one?
New Rose Hotel.
Yes, it
It's
is based.
Never heard of it.
Go ahead,
based
Eddie.
on a William Gibson short story. It was
Bingo.
made as an indie flick. I haven't watched it, but I've added it to several different streaming service wish lists because it keeps on bouncing around between different streaming services, and I can never nail it down before I watch it.
Yeah,
My
because
buddy back in the day, huge cyberpunk fan of the role playing game and William Gibson's work. Recommended to me and we watched it together. So it's Willem Dafoe teams up with Christopher Walken to pull a corporate extraction job from Moss Biotech. And the scientist they're looking to extract is Yoshitaka Amino in what I believe is his first and only film appearance. So that's right, the
the
Final Fantasy illustrator.
Final Fantasy artist. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays like a super genius egghead genetic engineer. And there is no cyberware in it. Like there are no cool rocket packs. There's no like laser eye implants. But it nails the mood and tone. It's just like these two small time operators who've been backed against a wall. Like Christopher Walken plays this dude who's just totally painted himself in a corner. Like he crossed the wrong people on his last job and actually got his spine broken. So out to the game
Oh.
now. And he's like I believe he's only known as Smith, and I know Defoe's only known as X. So like they're referred to by these pseudonyms the whole movie, and it's Walken trying to recruit Defoe to extract this talent, this top scientist from Moss Biotech to a Japanese company, and so it's kind of the same plot as like Inception. I
Mhm.
suspect that Nolan might have taken inspiration from it, and I'm not going to spoil it, but the plot they come up with is not just okay. Well, here's how I break into the compound and throw a bag over this guy's head, and like, heli lift him out of here. They decide to be even sneakier and go for the social engineering approach by figuring that the best way to a man's brain and loyalty is through his heart.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think your wife would really dig it.
We're gonna put that at the list, on the top of the list.
And another movie that probably passed unnoticed because it was a Netflix original, so only appeared on Netflix. But I would recommend for cyberpunk people is called Anon, Anon.
Mm.
It's got Clive Owens and Amanda Seyfried in it. And it's in a future where people have like AR, augmented reality, implants in their eyes that, you know, does the overlay, tells you who people are, tells you where your routes is, but it also records all of these things. And he runs across someone who can erase herself from it and even edit the footage and kills people. So she is the perfect assassin. And then, you know, things happen from there. But he is kind of, you know, Clive Owens plays that kind of guy who's pushed to the edge in it. He has to deal with some really hard things. And I haven't seen it because I first saw it like 3-4 years ago. But if I remember correctly, he's being set up by her, and he can't prove that he didn't kill somebody because none of the footage, all the footage of everybody looking around who witnessed what happened, sees him there and nobody else. And even, you know, his own implant only recorded him, not her. So I liked it. I'm not saying it's a super great movie, but I really liked it.
No, great concept. Sounds like it could be like a really solid Star Trek episode, like a Data or Odo whodunit mystery kind of thing.
But yeah, it's definitely another cyberpunk movie with basically a little bit of cyberware limited to the eye implants.
Well,
Very cool.
I'll put it on the list for research. That sounds cool. Without completely dragging the show off the rails, I wanted to press on your recommendation of film noir, and it occurs to me that you know, first of all, when we're talking about science fiction films, they can trace their look and feel, the sets and the costumes and design and everything, way back to 1927 to Metropolis. And on top of that, you've got the film noir films, which were very influential in the 40s and the 50s. And you said that the movies that we were looking at sort of reflected the aesthetic of cyberpunk fiction. That's because cyberpunk fiction, I believe, started in the late 50s. So you can draw, you know, over time, you know, as part of it's. I mean, it's basically 20th century Western fiction, or part of Western fiction, or science fiction, if you prefer. And so you can see this sort of through line from you know, the fanciful science fiction stories to where they rub up against the post-war period in the 50s, and the anxiety about that, and one of the hallmarks of film noir, you know, your hard-boiled detective, is that they're always back from the war, you know, and they're haunted by it, right? And then you match that with the angst about the great social change occurring in post-war period, late 50s, early 60s, as well as, you know, the rapid rise in the dominance of the corporation. And so basically you've got aging hippies worried about the future writing stuff like William Gibson wrote, and all those stories. And then that sort of led into the RoboCop, which is sort of the Reagan era critique of you know, corporate power, neoliberalism, that sort of thing.
And from Europe.
From Europe, yeah. You can sort of draw a line from one to the other, and they all sort of have that trend. And I hate to say it's all boomers, but it sounds like it's all boomers and their younger uncles.
Well, I got to hand it to David Stewart, whose stream I was recently on. He did a video and an article called "The Good Boomers," and he's got a point that really much of, if not all, of the big explosive changes and new IPs to break onto the scene in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s were made by boomers, whether you want to look at movies or music or television. Boomers may have had a very high incidence of sociopathy, but they also had corresponding creativity and a desire to challenge mainstream and push the envelope. So it kind of tracks.
So here's my question to you, Brian. I'm going to put you on the spot as a student of these cultural trends.
Okay.
What if any analog do we have in present day? To that sort of, it's not continuous, it's not unbroken, but that sort of through line where you can see, not only did Metropolis influence the look and feel of all these films, but then, 20th century fiction, they all sort of influenced each other, and you can see the impact of World War II. You can see the impact of film noir. You can see the impact of the cultural trends sort of built on each other in self-reference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it exploded in one of the ways it exploded is in this little subgenre called cyberpunk. What sort of through culture has that extended to today? Is there an analogous subculture or writing culture today, or fiction culture?
Yes, there is. And it's serendipitous you mentioned the term analog, because I've just been exploring what I think is the heir to that aesthetic tradition. Because if you ask me, like, last time I was on the show, I might have said no, that I think that I might have said that the remake, reboot, pre-boot, big tentpole franchise mania that script Hollywood has snuffed it out. But, and I think it largely did in film. Like, you could never make RoboCop again. I know, because they tried and failed.
Yeah.
A few years ago. But it's gone underground. So just like in science fiction, how the real action is in New Pub, where the heirs to cyberpunk and like creepy science fiction in general is here on YouTube. Are either of you guys familiar with the analog horror genre?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that creepypasta style stuff.
Well, it's what originally launched the creepypastas. Like, look up a channel called Marble Hornets. It's widely considered to be the progenitor of this subgenre. And nowadays you have stuff like Gemini Home Entertainment, Dr. Nowhere, Local 58, and it represents millennials kind of seizing that same kind of paranoia or distrust of where society is from the boomers, but taking it digital, because what it is it's looking at the 80s and 90s, because it's usually presented as like found footage VHS tapes on which weird glitches and spooky stuff happen. So I think, oh, well, let's just Blair Witch Project again. Not quite, because Blair Witch didn't use the medium itself to convey a message to the same extent that analog horror does, because back in 99, recording on a digital video cassette on a Handycam was just a normal thing. Now it's analog horror has this deliberate retro feel, and it captures some of that same zeitgeist you were talking about, that like, okay, well, we've kind of found ourselves in like the post-future, for want of a better term, right after the promise of the turn of millennium kind of fell flat, and we're looking back on a past we don't remember. And it's taken on this sinister cast, because like the three of us back in the 80s, we had no idea that like Clown World was coming, that this was coming, right? I mean, we were all told, oh, we're going to have rocket cars and like magna boots and robot maids and stuff.
Yeah,
And well, now here are these millennials who are, again, they're reacting to this like 50s through 90s optimism and going, was that serious? Was that serious art? Like all that Campbellian stuff? And they're planting or highlighting the seeds of our destruction that we didn't see back in the day by kind of making these retro videos where the foreshadowing has been inserted. And a lot of it has to do with like the horror comes through technology. Like you get videos that are mimetic viruses, kind of like The Ring, right?
Have you seen
right.
VHS?
Not yet. It's on the list.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the thing you're talking about.
Okay. Cool. I'll definitely have to look into it. But yeah. So that,
I mean, it's
go ahead.
The medium of VHS tapes themselves is part of the horror. It isn't just that what they're showing. It's an anthology movie.
Yes.
But it's an anthology movie with a what do they call it? A container story.
Yeah.
And the medium of the VHS tapes themselves is part of the horror. It's not just that they're watching the VHS tapes. It's just the VHS tapes themselves have an effect that are part of the horror.
Okay. Yeah. My buddy Wes from the Generation Video podcast reviewed that, I think on one of his previous series. And yeah, I think he regarded it highly. But yeah, you nailed it, DW. It's analog horror turns the very medium of VHS tapes into a vehicle for horror. And
Weird.
even though it's even though it's kind of retro, like it's kind of cyberpunk taken, like kind of backtracking on itself to kind of look for its roots. But I would say that's really where that ethos and that kind of creative muse has gone now. It's kind of been sublimated
into weird YouTube shorts.
I saw
aping forgotten technology.
I saw a interview today where a reporter was asking someone about the clothes they're wearing, and the guy was wearing a Levi's T-shirt, and the reporter asked him, "So what's Levi's? Is that like an indie band or something?" And I'm like, there is such a huge gap of understanding and a huge gap in the continuity of culture between modern kids and even, not just their parents, but like kids 5 or 10 years ago. There just is no common culture being passed on, and they're getting all their culture from YouTube and TikTok, and that's everything they know. And if it isn't on YouTube or TikTok, they just don't know about it.
Yeah, even in fashion, no one wears jeans anymore. Like guys wear cargo shorts and girls only wear yoga pants. So yeah, who knows what Levi Strauss is, right?
Yeah, the brand's still there. They still make jeans. They're in the store, but everybody gets their clothes delivered by Amazon now. So who cares?
Yeah.
Very strange. I can. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Jeff Bezos makes enough money off of it anyway. I'm about to dominate the rest of the show talking about movies and stuff. So maybe we should talk about one more movie and then and let Brian tell us all about the good stuff he's got going on.
Well, I think Brian has to go right at 9. So I think we'll jump to Brian talking about his Kickstarter, and then we'll talk about The Crow after he has to leave.
All right, that sounds really good. I do want.
Sorry, my schedule opened up.
Oh, okay.
Well, I always have time for you guys. I cleared it for you.
Fantastic. We
Um,
really appreciate that.
Part of
Also,
the
I'm
late
going to
notice.
fully take advantage of it by taking more of the time. Um, uh, before you get move on to the next thing, DW, I do want to call out to the chat. They had some great ideas too. Um, far as cyberpunk fiction goes, the 2015 sequences in Back to the Future share some of the aesthetic. Yeah, Simon Hogwood, good. We got a shout out to Tron. The original Tron defined cyberspace on the movies. Like it defined what we see as cyberspace. Neuromancer might have been the first to describe it in writing. And of course, Ghost in the Shell.
oh yeah, and that was the other one you mentioned before the show was Standalone Complex.
Yeah, I was getting out of anime when that hit the United States, and so I never actually watched it. I really enjoyed the movie.
Bubblegum Crisis is really great. It's just
Yeah,
great. If you haven't seen that and you want to watch a sort of a cyberpunk show, Bubblegum Crisis, I would recommend. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so let me flip to the Crow movie. I had to take notes on this because I can just go ahead and tell you it's a bad movie. Don't go see it. It's not worth spending money on. But what's interesting about the new Crow remake is not that it is bad. It's not even listing all the bad things about it. It's although I'm going to do that real quick. It's why it's bad. Specifically, first off, it's got a terrible soundtrack. The original had a legendary alt rock soundtrack. It just was like an era defining soundtrack almost. And this one has nothing. It's got nothing. Which I think is just, if you're going to be doing a Crow movie, either you need to make a defining soundtrack of modern music if you're going to update it to modern times, or you need to make a soundtrack heavy with the old style of music that fit with the Crow. And this is the problem of the Crow. The Crow, the original movie, if I could say this, was a Nine Inch Nails movie. It was it was an Alice in Chains movie. It was a movie that style of music, The Cure, Machines of Loving Grace, Rage Against the Machines, Violent Femmes, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, Jesus and Mary Chain. These bands and their music, that's what the Crow was. It was in story, in atmosphere, in grittiness on the screen. The movie embodied that kind of music. And this new movie has way too high a budget because it's perfectly pristine. I don't know if they shot it on digital, but it looks like it was shot on digital because there's absolutely no film grain to it. And the Crow itself was a low budget movie and it had enough film grain to give it that grungy, dark feeling that the story needed. And the city is bright and well lit up. And they go halfway through the story into the wilderness, into some kind of park or something, and swim in a lake, and are sitting around a campfire with their friends. And The Crow is an urban adventure. It is claustrophobic. It is in dark streets. The streets are angry. The city is a character in and of itself. It's a hateful city. The city of the Crow hates you. It wants you to suffer. And that's appropriate for the story because it's about Eric Draven, who is trying to not only bring revenge on the men who killed him and killed his girlfriend, but he is also spends time to try and redeem some people, to bring some hope back into the lives of the people living in these neighborhoods, which is what he was doing before when he got attacked and when he got killed. So it's not just a brutal revenge movie, although it absolutely is. And this city is just kind of a backdrop. The movie has a too high budget, everything is too pretty. And the fact of the matter is, they wanted to make this John Wick. They wanted to make this, and they even have a long John Wick action sequence near the end of the film where the Crow breaks into an opera house, and all of these bodyguards who you've never seen before, who have no connection with the crime, that didn't have anything to do with what happened, attack him, and he goes on this long fight scene. Does not have the vitality of John Wick, doesn't have the excitement of John Wick. It's just aping John Wick, and it's not appropriate for this movie. The Crow is a very, very, in the comics and the graphic novels, is a very, very personal revenge quest. There are people who personally wronged him, and he's going to get them. It's not a John Wick story. And I think they just saw The Crow and thought, hey, John Wick is about someone who had their dog killed and they were in love with this girl, and he went on this revenge to try and get the guy who did it. So we can make The Crow and we'll make it like John Wick, and then everything will be cool. They start off with this metaphysical, almost magical world building and background, but it makes no sense, and they build no mystery. And this is the crux of the movie. The screenwriting is incompetent, but it's incompetent more than on just a mechanical level, not just in terms of plot holes, not just in terms of bad dialogue, not just in terms of scenes not connecting directly to other scenes, of just making these confusing drops. All those things are true. But it's not just that. They have this notion of this supernatural threat. In the first movie, in the original The Crow, the main bad guy is a very, very normal person. He's evil, but he's not supernatural. In this movie, the main bad guy is supernatural. And you think I'm giving something away. I'm not, because that's literally the second scene in the movie. Is they show you the bad guy, they show you he's supernatural, and they tell you everything about it. They lay it all out. There's no mystery. There's no hint. There's no wonder. There's no ominousness to it. When you've got a supernatural bad guy, when you're discovering a fantasy world, you need to bathe in the wonder and the numinousness of it. You need to bathe in the delight of it. You need to bathe in kind of the uplifting, exciting exploration of it. And for a bad guy who's supernatural, what you need is the opposite of that. You need to have a mystery. You need to have dread. You need to have, you need to bathe in the, kind of the murky cloud that surrounds him. So it builds up this mystique. They don't do any of that. They give you chapter and verse. Here he is. Here's what he does. Here's what he's got to do. There's nothing mysterious about him, and it ruins the whole movie. They do not know how to make this feel morally meaningful, like an epic struggle between good and evil. Because with a supernatural bad guy, and I'm going to give this away because, one, you shouldn't see it, and two, it's literally the second scene of the movie, so it doesn't qualify as a spoiler. because it happens before Eric and Shelley have even met. You know who the bad guy is before Eric and Shelley, who are the main characters of the movie, that their relationship and their deaths are the inciting incident before they even get together. They've not even met. You meet the bad guy and know everything about it. That's how badly done this was. He has sold his soul to Satan, and in order to stay out of hell, he sends the souls of innocents to hell. That's it. That's the bad guy. And you know that. Second scene, bam. He tells you. He literally says, I've killed hundreds of innocents like you because I need to pay the price to keep my soul out of hell. Like, directly, he might as well be expositing by staring into the camera. And it's awful.
He doesn't trust its own audience. Yeah.
It's unbelievably terrible. Not just because it's bad exposition, but because it completely wastes what could be mythic weight attached to the struggle of the movie. A struggle between, love and hate, a struggle between redemption and damnation, a struggle between good and evil, a struggle between imperfection and ultimate evil, between a fallen man trying to redeem himself, fighting absolute evil. All of this mythic weight is just thrown away, just pissed away, right in the second scene of the movie. I've got a lot more notes. I'm not going to talk about them all. Maybe I'll write up a article for the blog. We don't have time, but wasted time. All of it just completely wasted.
That's terrible. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I will point out that I noticed today that the director of The Crow from '96 or whatever, Alex Proyas, is absolutely gloating all over social media about how terrible this movie's doing.
Good.
Saying stuff along the lines of, "Man, I called it a cash grab, but apparently there's not much cash to grab."
Oh, zing.
Yeah, it made like $4.5 million this first weekend on a $50 million budget.
Yeah, Alex Proyas equals genius.
Absolutely.
Like non-union, like I would say Mexican equivalent, but I think he's Mexican. Anyway, the Simpsons joke stands. Like whatever hack they got to direct the new Crow, yeah, equals whatever hack they got to direct the new Crow.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
we can move on
because I'll start talking about Alex Proyas, who made my favorite movie of all time. So.
Oh, I think you have good taste. Yeah. I think you're a man of culture as well.
Yeah, Dark City.
Yep. We are brothers, you and
I. All right, brother. We're more than halfway through the show. I am really excited, and I know you're even more excited for why you're here tonight. So lay it on us.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's possible, but I did go to considerable lengths to find an easy and enjoyable way to lay it on us. Did you get my link to the trailer in the Discord?
Yeah, I do. Let me.
Is screen sharing possible?
I closed. Yes, I'll be able to share it. Would you like me to just play it? I can do that.
I would love that. It's only 1 minute.
Great, let's do that. I thought I had it.
We'll tell the audience everything. Oh.
I thought I had it open, but apparently that was something else I had open. So I will present this screen right here. It's on YouTube. We can get you the link to it in a minute. But also share tab audio. Let's go. Let's play it.
a holy warrior plagued by doubt, a cloistered mystic yoked with rulership, a fated prophet seeking the powers of life and death. Besieged by a ruthless prince and a cruel legion, the free port of Dylige seems doomed. Trapped in the embattled city and lionized by its desperate people, Imperial envoy Zebran finds his faith tested by their newly elevated queen. Spies and traitors seek to topple the walls from within. The quest for the burned book stands on the brink of failure. To survive, Zebran must discover his place in the prophecies reshaping the world. But when solving an ancient riddle of tragic love means choosing between his honor and his soul, will Zebran find strength enough to save the fallen savior? Or will evils not of the world reign over it? The choice lies with the Lord of Fate.
Well, that's a pitch.
Right? Glad you dig it.
So this story, The Lord of Fate, is kicking off immediately following the burned book. It just picks up on the same day.
Yes. Direct sequel.
So you guys who haven't written if you haven't read the burned book yet, you probably want to get in on that. But let me share the Kickstarter page. It's not live yet. But
That's fine, because you can go and follow it so you get notified as soon as it launches, which is going to be tomorrow.
Oof at that stream quality. I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch the replay. Did it translate bad over stream? Because I liked it just fine. That's what happened. I got the wrong link. All right, so Lord of Fate. I'm sorry. I'm doing some technical stuff here, Brian. Tell us more.
Yeah. Okay. And that's fine, because folks can watch the trailer right there on the Kickstarter page in glorious high def. Yeah. So Lord of Fate, direct sequel to the Burn book, my previous dark fantasy adventure, which is book one in the prelude series to the award-winning Soul Cycle. So I'm finally going back and filling in the deep lore on that series. So by way of analogy, if you wanted to think of the Soul Cycle as the original Star Wars trilogy, then this is Knights of the Old Republic. If that makes sense.
I get you. Set way, way back where there's some familiarity to the setting, but it's its own separate contained story. Like an indirect sequel, not an indirect prequel, not a direct prequel.
Right, and I know you're familiar with the story. You actually helped contribute to it because you created a weapon that's going to appear in this series for our last campaign, right?
I love that. Yes, I did. That was. Please tell me those perks are coming back.
They are.
We did a creator weapon, and this is why. I'm just gonna straight up shill for this Kickstarter, man. When I back one of your books and I take one of these perks and do something, not only is it a fun and rewarding experience just working with the author and coming up with something interesting for the story, like that in itself is a valuable and worthwhile activity. But what you add to the story is relevant. It has an impact on what happens. And you'll notice that Brian said it's part of the story, not part of the book or something like that, right? It's my dreadful amoral weapon of murder and mayhem broke containment out of the first book, and it's going to keep showing up. It's fun. Like you can really have a say in how the story unfolds.
The Contagion is broken containment, you could say.
You've got a loyal fan in the chat, Teg Cross. That's a great
Yeah, the breakout
reference.
character of the Arkwright Cycle. So I suppose if Arkwright Cycle has a Wolverine or a Kramer, that would be him.
Yeah.
And
Ex-
he thinks that the Lord of Fate will be more popular than the Burned Book. Let's hope so. We have it on good authority there, folks. Tech knows what he's talking about. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think it will too. I think the cover's a step up too. Just looking at it makes me want to read it.
Well, that's a good segue
And
because sorry to cut you off, but before I lose my train of thought, and I think you and the chat are going to want to hear this. So, yeah, that cover, that was my favorite. I think it turned out really well. However, my awesome cover artist Marcelo Orsi Blanco, who's returning from the Soul Cycle to do this one, always gives me multiple sketches to choose from. And this was the one that I chose to be finalized as a cover for the paperback and the ebook. However, there was a second sketch by Marcelo that shows a different scene, which a lot of people, like a lot of my patrons in particular, really liked. And they did end up agreeing when they saw the finalized version of this one that this was the right call. However, some were kind of disappointed that their first choice didn't get realized. However, I did not forget about you if you were one of those guys, because one of our stretch goals this time, and Marcelo's already agreed to do it if we can meet his fee, is to finalize the second most favorite cover into a deluxe edition hardcover version of Lord of Fate. So if you get us to that stretch goal, we are going to do that, and we're going to have 2 covers.
oh, so that'll be the dust jacket on your hardcover. The alternate art.
Alternate art's going to
Are
be
you
the hardcover, yeah.
Yeah, is it going to be do you plan to do it as a dust jacket, or are you going to print it on the hardcover?
The way Amazon does it is it prints it on the hardcover.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Now I know that you've made it. Like you're excellent at your craft. You're putting out books. You do, you've had great Kickstarters, but now that you're in the territory of having alternate art on your covers, now you made it.
But there's more, Dornall.
Okay.
Because there's been something else that all of my readers have been begging with me, pleading with me to do since the beginning. And that is adapting my work into a certain medium. Can you guess what that is?
There's 2 guesses, the one that I hope for and the one that I think is right.
Okay.
The one that I hope for is an animated feature film, but I think you're talking audiobooks.
Correct on both counts.
Awesome.
If we hit what is currently our maximum stretch goal, which I'm just going to spoil, it's $9,000. Okay, we can do it. XCSS did it before. I got to 10, so I know you guys can do this. At $9,000, the Burned Book audiobook becomes real, and it will be offered as an add-on to this campaign. So I'm giving you the chance. Yeah, that's a deal. You guys can go ahead, turn this from an aspirational ask, prove you're serious. Put your money where your mouth is. I will do the rest and make it a reality so you can hear the Burned Book.
I love it. I love it. Yes, that's everybody's asking for that. Everybody's been asking for that forever.
And if you want, there's going to be a link on this Kickstarter page to a sample chapter of the Burned Book audiobook, which I already had my good buddy Wes that I mentioned before, and who narrated the trailer. He has agreed to read it. You can hear him reading the prologue for free.
Where do you find that?
That's going to be on this page when it goes live. You'll just scroll down to the section describing each stretch goal, and there's a link to the free sample audiobook chapter, which is hosted at my Patreon, and it's in a post that's been made public for a limited time for this reason.
Tell me how you're doing. speaking of the stretch goals and everything like that, that's amazing. But it occurs to me, and I think we talked about this before offline, but you've done everything on Indiegogo so far, and they had these really weird, like you can sort of like a cafeteria, you can pick and choose which perks you want to grab. But Kickstarter is a little bit different. So what? Why are we on Kickstarter now, and how are you going to do those add-ons?
Well, we're on Kickstarter now because I have decided to push the envelope and broaden my creative horizons. And it involves a lot of nuts and bolts behind the scenes marketing calculations. But just from all my research, Kickstarter is better for artistic products. It just is. Indiegogo tends to favor more gadgets and doodads for yuppies and bugmen. No offense. But it's not as good for art. Whereas, I mean, Kickstarters are Brandon Sanderson smashed the all-time crowdfunding record forever with his 4 books.
Yeah.
And not only him, but at every level, from like where I'm at to like the next tier, like 6 figures to the $1 million ranges, folks Kickstarter seems to be the people's preferred platform for supporting pop culture and artistic content. It's also the bigger platform. There's also a bit more creative freedom. Like I'm finding I can do everything I could do on Indiegogo and more. So I'm liking the user experience so far. And yeah, I agree with Teg. I think this one's going to be big. I think this is going to be the biggest yet. And you guys are going to help us get there.
Well, you brought it to where the people are, and I think they're going to come. This is cool. I'm really happy. I'm hopeful for this. I think it's going to be cool. I'm a firm believer in the books that you put out, and so I think this is going to be great. I'm really excited, and I hate to say it, but I hope you made sure that there's enough slots for other people to get in on working a weapon, or what are we doing? What are we doing for customized backing options this time?
And here's where I wish I could share my screen, because I can look at the full campaign page. I don't think there's a way for me to show it to you guys before launch, but we'll do what we can.
Okay.
This is kind of radio, so I can describe it to you. Just need to get back to where I can.
I'm not familiar with being a guest on StreamYard, but you might have a present button at the bottom of your browser tab.
Oh, I do.
All right, you may be able to share that screen.
Oh, I think I can.
Yeah, if you hit share screen, and usually the best thing is to pick a browser tab, and you can share just that tab.
It says screen sharing is easiest with 2 monitors. Screen sharing works best on a good PC. Blah 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Don't show these steps again. Okay, is it working?
Yes. Let me. You ready for me to show it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Boom.
I'm not going to dox myself.
Here we go. There you go.
Okay,
now we can see what you see.
Very cool. So there's the new banner.
Oh, yeah, there's a forward pod there, Brian. You haven't backed your own project yet.
That's actually against rules, but
darn.
Again, this is pre-launch. But yeah, I also
we're going to be able to watch the video right there. Cool.
Yeah, I think it works.
Awesome.
Is that coming through better?
A holy warrior plagued by doubt.
Oh, I don't know.
A cloistered mystic yoked with rulership.
Anyway, it is for me. But yeah, so now we actually get into the good stuff. So if you want, you can support by just making a donation without claiming a reward. So I decided to spruce up my presentation from previous campaigns. One thing I noticed is a lot of the High Roller campaigns are steering away from text. Because oddly enough, even though the internet, which is made of hypertext, right? The one thing internet viewers apparently hate is text. So a lot of campaigns replace their headings with custom banners and images. So I got these. Each section heading is actually custom graphic. So we got the book blurb here, mock-up of the paperback here. The one piece of advance buzz I was able to get, again from Generation Video Podcast, great guys over there, check them out.
Rad.
So then, because this is book 2 in a prequel series, I also gave the rundown on book 1. So here's about the burn book. And you can read a burn book sample chapter, also on my Patreon. And then here's a rundown on all 4 Soul Cycle books with a mini blurb for each one. All the mock-ups. Just a selection of the lavish praise, the glory the Soul Cycle has been covered in. Here's what we're doing. Here's a plan. So it's funding Lord of Fate and other stretch goals. And here are the stretch goals. So something fun I stole from other campaigns is this like Chivo leaderboard style of doing the stretch goals. See that?
Yep.
So the black and white version, at first each one is grayed out. So 2K is our initial goal. I'm going all in, going big or going home on my initial goal. Normally it's 1,000. I'm doing 2 because I believe in you guys. That's going to fund Lord of Fate. 3K, going to have signed bookmarks, custom bookmarks for anyone that gets a signed copy. So if you get a signed hard copy, you're going to get a bookmark. 4K, every backer is going to be thanked by name or handle, if he wants to be anonymous, in the acknowledgments, which is probably going to run several pages. $5 is that alternate hardcover, which is this guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was the alternate design that a lot of people liked. That's going to be finalized into an alternate hardcover edition when we hit 5K. At 6.5K, I'm going to commission new interior art, a black and white map of Dilige. So here's the original continent map of Thesia. If you look really close on a larger screen, you can see Dilige circled in green there. So then when we hit that goal, the next page after this in the book will be zoomed in. You'll get a map of the city with all 4 quarters. And then finally right now, 9K, burn book audio. Here's the mock-up. Here's the link to the demo chapter.
So, one thing that I have a question about, and I think that this might confuse anybody who's looking at this. So I have to ask, why the burned book? Why aren't we getting an audiobook of this book?
Because the burn book is already written.
So you'd be able to deliver it around the same time as the book, as the Lord of Fate. But the Lord of Fate audiobook would take a long time after it was written. So you can ship it simultaneously. Right.
This way I can add the burn book audiobook as an add-on reward to this campaign. So yes. And at the rate production is going, I'll be able to fulfill my goal is, and I'm confident in it, to start fulfilling the burn book audiobook before the Lord of Fate novel.
Got it. That's a special treat for anybody who's backing this and haven't read the burn book. They can just listen to it in the car.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, Wes is doing an awesome job. He is a trained actor. That's actually what his degree is in. He's done some indie films. He's done a ton of radio and internet radio. He's got that smooth, smoky voice. I think he's perfect for this. And he's all kinds of excited about it. Like, he is asking, like, right now, after the preliminary work has been, like, we've laid the groundwork on burn book audio. He's like, when are we doing ethereal? Like, come on, we got to do ethereal, like, right now. Like, patience, buddy. Come on. Let's do the meat. Let's finish your meatball before we start on the sausage, okay? So,
wow.
But yeah, he's digging this. He's loving it. I've then got explanations of the worker weapons with links to each one, including yours.
Yeah, you'll note that of the 3 weapons over there, mine is the weird one on the right. Yeah. That's what you get for working with me.
Yeah, and it explains what it does.
Nope. We're not seeing that tab, but that's okay. You can check it out on the campaign
They're not.
tomorrow. Yeah, I think you're only sharing the Kickstarter tab, which is fine. That's appropriate.
Oh, okay.
It's easier than sharing your whole screen and showing everybody your tabs.
Fair enough. So, yeah, and it's pretty simple. So let's go back up to the reward tiers. So first of all, bam, $5 level, 2-for-1 deal. You not only get Lord of Fate, you get the Burn Book in digital too, for free. And in fact, every tier includes the Burn Book, because I know you're going to want to get caught up. Not everyone has read Burn Book yet. Now you don't have an excuse. I didn't forget about you. Those are just coming in now.
Easy.
At $10 and above, every reward tier includes a Burn Book and the whole Soul Cycle in digital. So you're extra not out of the loop. You're extra in the loop. You're fully in the loop. At 25, we have the Lord of Fate paperback, which comes bundled with the ebook and, of course, all of the other ebooks, Burn Book and Soul Cycle. $40, signed Lord of Fate paperback. And that will come with a bookmark once we hit that stretch goal.
Cool.
Then we have the ever-popular all paperbacks. And now we start getting into the silver tier here, the more premium. But if you're another author or heck, just a business owner who wants to advertise in Lord of Fate, I will give you a full page ad. You supply the ad copy and the image and the link, and I'll do the rest. Then at $100, we've got a general author AMA. So I do an Ask Me Anything session on Discord for all of my patrons every month. I'm adding another one. I'm going to do 2 shows a month, which I normally don't do. So you get an hour to ask me anything that is unlimited. So as many folks as want to show up and grill me about the publishing industry or movies or what have you, can do so. Then we have the ever-popular Be in a Book. I will name a character after you and write it into Lord of Fate or another published work. We can discuss that. And I'm not just going to name like a red shirt after you, unless that's what you want. Like we can actually confab.
And there's a tier for that.
We're going to get to that, yeah. But you get input into your namesake character or heck, claim it on behalf of a friend or coworker. Right? It's up to you. Next up, we have author chat. So that's a one-on-one. You get an hour of my time for a personal conversation. We can talk books. We can talk the publishing business. You can pitch your book to me. Let me know if I think it's good, right? So that's author chat. And here we go. $200, Be Killed in a Book. You not only get everything you would get in Be in a Book, but I will then kill your nominated character in a most memorable fashion. You're not just going to get like shot or something. It's going to be memorable. Plus, you get all the cool stuff.
That one seems so weird to me. How popular is that? You've had that in every crowdfunder.
There's a reason, it's because it's really popular.
Okay.
You could also claim it on behalf of someone else because I stopped short on my list of the previous perk. You can do your enemies if you want.
Do your enemies. Yeah.
Do your boss in Minecraft. We're in Lord of Fate. So yeah, Be Killed in the Book. And then the creme de la creme for high rollers, the Work a Weapon. You get to make a sapient enchanted item of some kind. Doesn't have to be a weapon. Could be a bucket. Could be an umbrella. Could be a wheelbarrow. Your choice. And you work with me to decide what mystic virtues it has, and I'll write it into Lord of Fate or later book in the series, subject to mutual approval. And I'm going to add more. Tonight, I'm going to add my Platinum tier perk. I'm not going to use you guys' feedback on this. I'm thinking of making it either commission a custom short story, or I don't know. That's my current idea. I'm just kind of I'm probably going to offer that just considering like what level, but I want a good $500 platinum tier to go after this gold tier one right here. But you'll get to see that tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a cool idea. I don't know. Who does anybody take you up on that offer to make a short story for them? Is it a i- do you intend it to be like a hey, give me an idea and I'll give you a story, or is it more of like a ghost writing opportunity where it's more collaborative?
Could be either way. You determine your level of participation. That's something we can hash out. So far, I haven't had takers on that in previous campaigns, but I
Hmm.
think that might be due to, again, the platform. The Indiegogo's more left-brained and Kickstarter's more right-brained, because I have seen other authors on Kickstarter get taken up on that offer, and I think it's a cool idea, and I'm willing to do it. So if you
Oh
want to,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean put it in. It's a new platform. Give it a try. Um, I'd be curious to see who takes you up on that offer. 'Cause I want to. I mean I've made no. I haven't hidden the fact that some of my favorite stuff that you've done is your short fiction, right? I really like The Hymn of the Pearl and your short stories too. So like this is a cool opportunity. I have a question just out of curiosity. Let's say hypothetically I were considering on doing a work a weapon. Um, do
long
you
shot,
have
I know. Right.
do you
Let's
have
go out on a
s-
limb.
do you have space in the Arkwright Cycle universe if all four of those perks get picked up and everybody wants to make a weapon? And I don't even want to say like everybody makes a sword because like swords are going to be the most popular anyway. But now we're going to have seven magical weapons in this story. Do you already know how you're going to fill that space in the story?
Well, let's look at the soul cycle. Okay, pretty much every weapon in that has worked. It just becomes standard. So and they start getting mass produced under the guild. So yeah, don't worry about this because a major set piece and running theme of Lord of Fate is going to be a city that's being besieged, and then later a fort that gets besieged. So yeah, it's a target rich environment. We're spoiled for choice here. I could really fit in any number of enchanted items and weapons. So yeah, not worried.
Cool, cool. All right, so I won't feel obligated to make it a magic bowl that lets you see into the future or something like
Oh,
that.
see, that would be awesome. I could
What?
actually sink my teeth into that.
Well, that's weird. That's weird that I came up with an awesome idea like that right off the cuff.
We share a brain. Don't you get this yet? I mean, think about what happened when you were making mechs for XC, and we're like, wow, that's creepy. I was thinking about that exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I said to Chat earlier, my favorite character is actually Harvester.
Yeah, so yeah, it's great. It is a character, but yeah, in this case, okay. So Magic Scrying Bowl fits perfectly because who's a major faction in Arkwright Cycle? The Priest of Bifron, yeah, or the
Of
Priest of
course.
Seraphis. They're both augurs, so they both do augury. Why not?
Oh dear. Yeah, we're gonna except it'll be it's since it's my work a weapon, it'll have to be cursed or something like that.
Of course,
You can have that one for free. Just take that one. If I fund the worker weapon, I'll come up with something even better.
you're on tape. Okay, chat your witnesses. Yeah, these are always fun,
Ah,
and I'm going to continue. I have enough room to continue to develop Grey Mercy, Soul Razor, and Hunger. So don't you worry about that either.
oh
You
yeah,
back.
I'm really excited to hear about those swords develop. Um, question about the Oh, I think I answered my own question reading the page here. I was wondering about all these higher level things. What type of book are you getting? It's all paperback because the hardcover is going to be an add-on later. So it's all of these tiers include the paperback, right?
Let's see which ones do. So the first ones are only ebook.
Right. After the
So 5, 10. Yeah. So after 25, then we start. It's at 25 we start getting into the paperback. 40 is assigned paperback. Then all paperbacks.
and everything above that, it includes a paperback, right?
Let me double check. That's what it's looking like. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
South Maze paperback.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'd want to make sure.
I'll get
I'd want to make sure. I'd hate to click on that and get an ebook and not a paperback. Well, that's just me.
We're gonna
Most
get
people
both.
read on ebook.
Print is coming back. Yep,
It's
in
coming-
print.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
yeah,
see.
paperback. Yes, you're correct.
Here we've got a man who is he being honest with himself? Empreb taking a sideline on work weapon. He will watch curious at what people bring up. Well, now you're on tape.
Hmm.
We're gonna see if you can resist the lure.
We'll see if you can help yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. I'm so excited. I hope this goes really great for you.
Thank you.
War Pig. You're
Yo.
stunned to silence by excitement. What do you want to know?
I think I got everything. I was just letting you guys cook, man.
Well, thank you.
Oh, good.
I mean, there was the Soul Cycle series. This is the, long set in the long ago, the Soul Cycle series, and there's a usual array of really really awesome make a character and make a weapon options that Brian typically has in his crowdfunding, which always turn out really well. And if things go really really well, he's going to be making an audiobook, so people can look forward to that.
Absolutely. I really hope that blows up. I personally don't care, but I know I've seen it. Everybody wants to know when we're going to get your stuff in audiobook, and this needs to blow up.
Yeah, thanks. I've got some stuff cooking behind the scenes. Don't want to get too technical, but I think it will, based on the early numbers I'm seeing.
Good.
So, yeah, let's just say I'm doing more than going on awesome streams and talking movies and then shilling the book. Not that I don't appreciate that. That's the tip of the spear to make a deliberate pun. But then I've also got my ground game going on. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Outstanding.
And,
well, we're pulling for you at the Geek Gab. We're really happy to have you do this. I think
thank you.
I think we're over time and we got to start wrapping up here. Brian, give us your last best pitch. Anything you want to say?
First of all, thanks for having me, Dornall DW. Thank you for watching chat and all our viewers of the replay. Check out the Lord of Fate Kickstarter page. It's in the show notes below. If you're watching this live, go ahead and sign up for notification. Just go ahead and click that and notify me on launch so you don't miss a second. I really think those limited perks are going to go fast. Just like you've heard here. There's one guy who's like scratching furiously and biting his tongue to try to keep himself from clicking on that other work weapon. And I believe I was talking to one guy earlier who's looking at that or be killed in a book. So don't miss it. Get in there. Get us funded day one so we can get us to that audiobook. It's going to be awesome. You can finally hear the haunting world of the Soul Cycle cosmos instead of just read it. It's going to add a whole new dimension to dark fantasy. And thank you in advance.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. I love seeing your works. It's really good, and I hope this one blows up. And I do really appreciate everybody hanging out in chat. It's good to see some of your fans. It's good to see the Geek Gab crew is here talking about your books and movies and stuff. Love to see you guys, and I hope everybody listening to this later, whether it's this week and you want to check out the Kickstarter, or it's months from now, and you want to take a look at what Brian Niemeier is writing. It's at brianniemeier.com. You can find him on Twitter too. just go check out his books. Really cool stuff, especially the stuff that I came up with. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Daddy Warpig, final thoughts?
I would definitely recommend watching Streets of Fire. I would definitely not recommend watching the new Crow. Go ahead and watch the old Crow. It's a great personal revenge flick. And yeah, I think that's it for today.
Awesome. Take us away.
All right, folks. We want to thank everyone who tuned in and listened live. We want to thank everyone who will tune in and listen later. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, August 26, 2024. We are here every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Go ahead and click like. If you like the show, click subscribe, click on the bell icon to get notified as to when we are going live. We're also available on the Google Play Store, on SoundCloud.com, and on the Apple iTunes Store. You can subscribe to us on the device of your choice, download us to the computer, listen to us on the web, whatever is most convenient for you. We are signing out for today, folks, but don't you worry, don't you fret. We will be back.